So at the very beginning of Age of Napoleon, the coalition threw the peace talks card on the game, which will move the campaign turn 2 forward into a winter turn. We'll see what that does. And they followed up by grabbing a new card and doing the same. They grabbed the card out of the discard pile and did the same, thereby preventing the first turn from happening at all, basically. 1806 diplomacy phase, France decides to do the same kind of trick, playing Talleyrand to convert Russia to neutral, then dropping a card to grab that card back, plays it again, converts Russia to a French ally, and then ends up installing a Napoleonic dynasty on the throne with Joseph. So now we have a dominion here, which means it's immune to a coalition diplomacy. In the reinforcement phase, we saw some interesting cards fall. Radetzky showed us up, which increased the force pool for the Austrians and their production for the turn. We'll see that in a moment. But then on the French turn, they played the out of favor card, removing Charles from command, and we end up with who? John. And then the coalition returned by removing Napoleon from command, and now, well, that's not too big a decrease. Davout's in charge of that big stack. First round of the campaign is over. John managed to defeat Lannes and push him back. This was actually a bad attack by the French. The coalition decides to do nothing. After the second round, Davout marched in and captured Bavaria from Ferdinand and wiped out all his troops. Mack and whoever else, Reed, are now permanent casualties. Beginning of winter, John made an attempt to relieve the capital, and it failed. Coalition dropped winter quarters in order to end the turn before the French could finish off the Austrians. Alright, by my reading of the coup d'etat card, the British are able, or the coalition, are able to convert Denmark, even though it's neutral, into an allied country. This doesn't do a lot for them, but it will give them a third neutral ally, which gives them an extra card, I think. I think that's it. Beginning of the 1807 campaign phase. Charles has rebuilt the Austrian army in the Tyrol. Going to make an attempt to get back the capital. Meanwhile, the French have built up their Italian forces, with Eugene especially, and Napoleon has returned. And it actually looks like the Austrian war is going to take a long time. I don't know. We'll see. We do have a problem. When I look at what the French have to face, right now, if they take Naples and they take Prussia, and then they're almost at the victory conditions, they can also take Denmark. There's one thing they can't take. That's Sweden. They can't go from Denmark to Sweden, so they have to draw some kind of diplomacy card before things start breaking. So even with that early start and the big diplomatic advantage over in Russia, the French position is not guaranteed. Now the British still haven't gotten the Britannia card. It got discarded at the end of a turn, so they didn't get to seize it and play it. That's at least my reading of the rules. So Wellington and his forces are still stuck in England, unable to do anything. Napoleon's got his work cut out for him, though, right now. So after the first campaign round, Napoleon marched in and moved into Austria so that he can pretty much guarantee the surrender. Charles attacked through Dalmatia but was defeated. In the second campaign, Charles's Austrians foolishly made another attack. I say foolishly because the Austrian dead pile has gotten rather large. Those are permanent eliminations. That was a dumb move by the Austrians. They should have just tried to stand back and accepted their defeat. And Charles paid the price for that. Napoleon made an attack, wiped him out permanently. I mean, he can come back through cards or whatever, but still, it's a pretty harsh result. I don't think anything else is going to happen this turn, but we'll play out the winter turns. And then we'll see what happens after the surrender. So beginning of 1808, only thing that really happened was the surrenders. Austria is now neutral. Naples and Denmark have both fallen. And Napoleon moved some of his forces around so that he wouldn't suffer much, if any, winter attrition. Probably a mistake, because he had a pile of guys over here in Dalmatia in order to refresh them all. We'll see. So, I failed my reading comprehension skills again. The Joseph card could only have been played by the coalition player. To me, this means that instead of the insurrection in Russia, that could not have happened. We end up with an insurrection somewhere else. I'm not sure where. I'll have to figure that out. I think it's going to have to be... I think it's going to have to be Austria, actually. Not that that's very helpful. Because they're the only conquered country. They're the only neutral country with French troops in it. So we're going to leave France as controlling Russia. I may have to tweak the game a little bit, probably discard a card or something. We'll see. So yeah, the solution was to move Austria into being the insurrection. And then the Allies played the Joseph card, making Russia into a dominion, so it could become an insurrection country later. So instead of choosing Spain with its large army, might have been a better idea, but anyway, we'll leave it there because I think Russia makes an interesting insurrection country. And now we'll move on to the reinforcements, and then we'll start the turn. So the Austrian insurrection is in Transylvania. Nobody else got any reinforcements. Both the French and British are at the top of their line in terms of how many they can have. The coalition, British, played the Britannia card to allow them naval actions, and they moved Wellington to command the insurrection against the French. At the end of 3 rounds in combat here in 1808, we have Wellington having defeated Napoleon's army twice, once in Transylvania on defense, and another time over here in Hungary. Napoleon himself actually was removed due to supply attrition. I guess that's about it because I'm out of time.